This video was a long time coming. Over the years, I've made it no secret that I don't particularly like the Johto region. A lot of people are dumbfounded whenever I mention it. They're like, surely you've got to be joking, right? Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are the best games. They had Pokemon following you and 2 regions. What's not to love about that? I just want to get this out of the way now. At the end of the day, it's Pokemon. I don't hate the games. I enjoy playing through them whenever I do, but they are my least favorite. So today, I'll be telling you why that is. I'm not here to convince you to change your mind. I don't care if these are your favorite games. I'm just answering a question I get a lot. I guess the best place to start is my biggest issue, the lack of actual Johto Mons. I don't know about you, but whenever I play a new Pokemon game, I like playing with the new monsters introduced with that region. I think it's dumb that a lot of the coolest Johto Mons are either locked behind Kanto, or they are so insanely rare in Johto that you'll need a guide to find them. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, allow me to thank the sponsor of today's video. Today's video is sponsored by HelloFresh. If you followed my channel for a few years now, you'll already know I'm a huge fan of these guys. I used to stack empty HelloFresh boxes behind me because I wanted to reuse them when I moved home. I've been using their service for years, so I'm not over exaggerating when I say HelloFresh taught me how to cook. Once you're an adult, you're responsible for every meal you eat for the rest of your life. You have to decide what you want to eat, you have to make sure you have all the ingredients, then you have to make it. It's quite daunting, especially as a beginner. HelloFresh takes the stress away by delivering quality produce from the farm straight to your door. You also get these easy to follow 6-step guides on how to cook the ingredients they provided. Their plans are flexible, so if you're going on vacation for a few weeks, you can easily update your delivery address. And with everyone having different diets, they have plenty of options for you to choose from. Not only is HelloFresh convenient, but it also tastes amazing. This meatball sub I made blew me away. So if you're interested in saving time and money while also eating healthier, use my link or go to hellofresh.com and use code POGCALUMOCT65 for 65% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thanks again HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Now back on the topic of the lack of Johto Mons. Here are some of the worst offenders. Gligar, Skarmory, and Phanpy are very rare encounters in Johto. They all happen to be on the same route right below Blackthorn where you receive your 8th badge. You couldn't just spread them out a bit? Why are they so clustered together? Mantine is a 10% encounter in Pokemon Gold on Route 4A1. Yeah, that's the route that surrounds the Royal Islands, an area that isn't mandatory to go to because it's Pokemon Gold. You don't get Lugia until later. In the original games, Remoraid is only catchable by Super Rod. The Super Rod is in Kanto. Same goes for Quillfish. Despite it being on Route 32, it was only catchable by Super Rod. Heart Gold and Soul Silver lightly fixed this issue. They are now catchable by Good Rod, which you obtain in Johto, both at a 2% encounter rate respectively. And that's assuming the player knows their location and is willing to backtrack and sit through the grueling task of getting a 2% fishing encounter. Now, I am aware of swarms. It was a feature introduced in Generation 2. It makes it easier to catch rare Pokemon. I just think it's dumb. It's personally a feature I never used, which is definitely a me problem, but even still, only 6 Johto Mons can be found with swarms. Here are some other awesome Johto encounters. Miltank is a 5% encounter on Route 38 and Route 39. Snubbull has a 1% encounter rate on Route 38. Yanma is a 1% encounter on Route 35. Marill has a 5% encounter rate at Mount Motar. Tyrogue requires Surf and Waterfall to get one of them at the top of Mount Motar. So not only does it have a ridiculous evolution method to get Hitmontop, you also need all 8 gym badges to even receive one. And without Rock Smash, Dunsparce is a 1% encounter in Dark Cave. Those are the most egregious Johto encounters. There's definitely more I find a bit silly, but I don't want to nitpick too much. Now let's talk about the Johto Mons that are only found in Kanto. Sneasel, Misdreavus, Slugma, Houndour, Murkrow, and Larvitar are only found in Kanto. And to make things even worse, half of them are only encounterable after you have obtained 16 gym badges, because Sneasel, Misdreavus, and Larvitar can only be found at Mount Silver. So if you want to use a Tyranitar for your red fight, you're gonna have to do a little bit of grinding. And that's only the Pokemon you encounter in the wild. Another lack of actual Johto Mons comes from the trainers you face in the region itself. Half of the Johto gym leaders only use one Johto Mon. The rest are all Kanto. Listen, it's been said before that Gold and Silver were meant to be the last Pokemon games, so it does make sense that Kanto had so much representation. It was a nice reference to the originals, fan service, you can make up a bunch of reasons. What pisses me off though is that it wasn't fixed in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. You're 4 generations deep. Pokemon is here to stay, and instead of making Johto a better experience, they just kept it the same. Why doesn't Morty use Misdreavus? Why doesn't Bugsy show off Heracross? Why does Falkner not use Hoot Hoot or Noctowl? Why doesn't doesn't Chuck have a Hitmontop? Between the Johto Pokemon being absurdly rare to encounter and the gym leaders not using them at all, this can't help but feel like a Kanto 1.5. It's so confusing to me to see people hate on Kanto but love Johto. These regions are just so intertwined, and that is my biggest grievance with Johto. However, there's still plenty of other things to complain about. The level curve. I won't spend too long on this topic because I'm sure you've heard it before, but my god, the level curve in these games are abysmal. I understand with a game like Pokemon, it's difficult to strike a balance, and I imagine it's especially difficult with 2 regions, but I'm either extremely underleveled or extremely overleveled depending on what part of the game I'm at. This is a mild complaint though. Pokemon isn't exactly a hard game. You can beat Red with level 45s if you wanted to. Now, I personally don't play Pokemon for the story. If you've played one of them, you've played them all. But the Team Rocket events in these games are so boring, and there's no like real conclusion either. You know how sometimes you dread playing certain parts of any video game? That's me with the main Team Rocket event in Johto. It's just back-to-back battles against low-leveled, unevolved Pokemon. I just beat the 7th gym. Why am I fighting Rattatas in their mid-20s? I'm sorry, I don't mean to harp on about the terrible level curve, but it truly blows my mind. The last point I want to talk about is Kanto's inclusion in the games. For its time, it was very impressive, but I believe it led to a lot of Johto's drawbacks. And for what? Nostalgia? Kanto in these games is very bare bones. Since there's not much story besides beat all the gym leaders, it's a breeze to walk through. And any semblance of story that does exist feels like a chore, rather than something I actually want to do. It's a shame. To me, they sacrificed Johto for some nostalgia. The reason I don't like Johto games is because of the missed potential. Johto is such a gorgeous region to explore. I just can't help but see it as Kanto's little brother. I mean, it doesn't even have its own Pokemon League. To fix these games, I personally would want everything I mentioned prior to be addressed. Make Johto Pokemon more reasonably encounterable. Give the Johto gym leaders at least 1 Johto Pokemon each. Expand on some areas in Johto. Do more with Ilex Forest. Make Burned Tower more than an area you're in and out of within minutes. Make Dark Cave actually worth exploring. Remove the need for so many HMs. They're so intrusive in the Johto region, and in my opinion, they actually discourage exploration. However, I understand why people enjoy these games. It encourages small daily play sessions. If you're like me and you sit down and finish the game in 3 days, you're missing out on a lot of content. I wanted to conclude this video by saying Johto just doesn't work for my way of playing. And that's okay. Pokemon is a franchise that can be enjoyed by anyone in many different ways. If some of my grievances were addressed, Johto might not be as desirable of a region for other players, and I wouldn't want that.